Have you ever wondered why we have multiple languages all over the earth? I know I have. Hi everyone, welcome to Learning God's Guidance 5678 with Audrey here. Today we are on chapter 11 of Genesis. We're doing chapters 11 and 12 today. Okay, so we're diving deep, reading the Bible from the beginning to the end, all the way through, and you're along for the journey. So thanks for being here. Subscribe if you're new, okay? And I'm also memorizing scripture through the power of dance. You can go check out those videos as well. But anyway, let's dive in. Okay, so I don't have the app in front of me to read off, but I did write it almost word for word, the ESV version. Okay, so we're just gonna go through it first, and then I'm gonna summarize what my takeaways are. Okay, so Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel. I'll comment on that later. Anyway, you ready? Here we go. The whole earth had one language, the same words, all right? And they migrated from the east and settled in Shinar. Who migrated? The people. Because in Genesis 10, let's go back. Yeah, from these nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. Okay, so once everybody spread, and in chapter 10, we went over that, like the clans were dispersed and they were, setting up their nations, right? Okay, so here we go. Whole earth, one language, same words, okay? They migrated from the east and settled in Shinar. They built a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and to make a name for themselves, okay, as they dispersed across the whole earth. Again, I'm paraphrasing here. The Lord came down to see the city tower. Okay, and the Lord said, they are one people, one language. This is only the beginning of what they will do. So at first there was just one language, I'm like over here going, as a kid, like, why do we speak so many different languages? I was telling my husband about this because I was summarizing it to him, what I took away from it today, and I was thinking about it, and have any of you ever thought about that? Like, why all the different languages? Why not just have one? I always thought of that. And the amount of time that it takes to like translate a language, just one language, and there's like hundreds of them. Like, why not just make it simple and everybody speak the same one? I don't know. I always wondered that as a kid, but okay, now I feel like I kind of have my answer of what happened. All right, so anyways, the Lord came down to see the city tower. So he basically, he get like the people started getting creative, right? They're like, ooh, look at these bricks we can build. Let's start building this tower. So I just imagine God is up there watching us try to do something creative, and here we go, we're building this tower, like, ooh, let's get it up to the heavens, like, we want to, like, let's just go as high as we can, right? And then the Lord came down to see us. The Lord said, they are one people with one language. This is only the beginning of what they will do. So this had me thinking about, like, how does he know it's only the beginning of what we'll do? Well, first of all, he knows everything, right? Because in Bible study, we were talking a lot about how God looks at things from an aerial perspective. And the analogy, shout out to Erin, that she gave was a parade, right? Like, so time, we look at time as like the floats are going by in a parade and you only see what you see right in front of you. But then there's the beginning and then there's the end. And we don't see the beginning or the end from our seat. We're literally sitting where we're at, looking at what's right in front of us as it passes by, right? But God's up here in like helicopter aerial view, and he can see the beginning, the middle, and the end, all of it at the same time, right? So I really liked that analogy. And then it reminded me of another analogy that I had heard that was Darius talks about, where the time is, we look at it linear, like cards being shown one by one. But when you put all the cards together and you look down from the top, you see all of them simultaneously, right? Like, that's really how time is all happening at the same time. So anyways, when the Lord said they are one people, this is only the beginning of what they will do, it reminded me of that. Is like he's up there going, they only know that this is the beginning, but I see forever, right? And I know what's coming. And now I know that nothing, and here says, nothing they propose to do will now be impossible for them. So anything that they want to do is possible, right? That's, in other words, nothing they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Okay, so yeah, I thought, okay, so now like we've taken that step to create this thing with bricks and buildings, and then God's gonna, come down because he says next, come, let us, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, I'm assuming there, come, let us go down there and confuse their language so they don't understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city, right? So he's like, hold on, I'm gonna come interrupt and be like, psh, 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 you guys go here, done making the tower, and I'm gonna make you all confused with your language. Like, why? Like, again, this made me thinking about like one of the previous videos about like, is this an experiment, right? It's just like a playground for him. Like, oh wow, yeah, they're in my image, they're creating the way I create them. Cool, let's make it a little more challenging and let's give them all these languages and see what they do with it. Anyway, okay, I'm kind of going through what I take on it as I'm reading, which, yeah, I'm just going off the cuff with this, guys, of how what I really am thinking in the moment of reading this. Okay, so hope this is helpful for you, by the way. All right, so okay, so therefore, okay, wait. So the Lord dispersed them from over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel. So I had to listen to the app a few times because I'm like, is it Babel or Babel? I'm like, how fitting if it's Babel, like babble, like, we're just babbling, like we don't know what we're saying. We all have all these different languages now, and we're just like babbling. I'm so confused. I'm like, that would be funny if the pronunciation's really Babel, but in the app it's Babel. So I'm like, oh, that didn't fit with. But that's kind of how it made me remember the name. Anyway, therefore its name was called Babel, because there is where the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there, the Lord dispersed them over the face of the earth. So, I just think of it as like God's playground, Anyway, okay, then it goes on to Shem's descendants. The generations of Shem started. So here I put, it goes down, list their names, how old they were when they died, that thing again, right? So, but I noticed on this one, it was like 500 years, like when they passed 500 years, 403 years, 430 years, 209, like it was slowly decreasing, right? 207, 200, 119 of like how long their lives were. So I thought maybe this is when that kicks in, the whole him saying that, our flesh will leave the spirit, or his spirit will leave our flesh at like 120 years, right? My question in previous video, I'm like, when did that take place? And so yeah, in this chapter, I thought, oh, it's showing right before our eyes. Okay, and then it goes into Terah's descendants, and it just kind of goes through, the facts here of Terah fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Terah died, Abram and Haran got their wives. Abram married how do I say it? Sarai, is that right? Sarai, that's right. I had to listen to the pronunciation of that name too over again, because I have a friend that spells it the same and she pronounces it Sarai, and so I keep having that in my head. Anyway, okay, Nahor, Milcah, Sarai, she couldn't have children. Sarai couldn't have children. Terah took Abram's his son, and Lot, son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, Abram's wife. They went from the Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan But when they arrived in Haran, they settled there, and then Terah dies 205 years later. So then his age went up again, which I was like, huh. And then Haran, like, why did they settle in Haran? What happened? Why didn't they continue to Canaan? Like, I wonder. It doesn't say. But yeah, so that was just kind of the breakdown of Terah's descendants, Shem's descendants, and then the confusion of the language. So that's all of Genesis 11 that I got from there. Okay, let's move on to Genesis 12. Okay, so this one I wrote a little bit more verbatim of the ESV version, by the way. So I'm going to read it first and then go through the notes. Okay. So Genesis 12, the call of Abram. Go to the land I will show you. I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, curse those who curse you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram went, and Lot went with him. He was 75 years old when he left Haran. Him, his wife, Sarah, it's gonna drive me bonkers. I keep saying Sarai, Sarai, and Lot, his brother's son, all their possessions and people they acquired in Haran, and set out to go to Canaan. While on their way, Abram passed through the land to go to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. Can't read my own writing. Okay, at that time, the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring I will give this land. So Abram built an altar there. Then he moved to the hill on east of Bethel, and then Bethel was on the west and Ai was on the east. He built an altar there to the Lord and called upon the name of the Lord, and then continued on toward the Negev. Now there was a famine in the land, so Abram went to Egypt to sojourn. I didn't know what that word meant. I looked it up. Temporarily stay there, basically. For the famine was severe in the land. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife, I know that you are a woman beautiful in appearance, and when the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. Then they will kill me, but they will let you live. So you are my sister, that it may go well with me because of you, and that my life may be spared for your sake. When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. And when the princes of Pharaoh saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house, and for her sake he dealt with Abram. And he had sheep, onyx, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels. But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. What is this that you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and go. And Pharaoh gave men orders concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Wow. Okay, so let's just start through it again. So, because I'll remember my notes in my head as I do it. So this in the beginning, right? God is telling Abram another command, just like he did with Noah. He's like, go to the land. Like, I'm telling you what to do. I will show you, I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, right? And then I will bless those who bless you, curse those who curse you. So when I read that, I basically took from that, well, yeah, you get what you give. Basically, that's what he's, teaching us by telling him that. Those that, people that bless you will be blessed. People that curse you will get cursed. So, the way you speak, the way you act, you get that in return, right? And then, then continue on. As he's passing through, he has this moment where God appears to him and tells him, this is where your offspring are going to be, right? This land is where your offspring are going to be. So can you imagine you're walking through and all of a sudden you get this hit from the Lord of pay attention, I got to tell you something. This area you're going through, this is where your offspring are going to go. And so he takes note of it big time, and that's when he builds the altar there, right? And he called upon the name of the Lord, and then he continued on. But there's definitely like a stop, like a pit stop. Like God like interrupted his journey and was like, hey, pay attention, because this area you're passing through is where your offspring are going to go. So then he takes a moment and he's like giving his praise and creates his altar, calls on the Lord, and then keeps going, right? He sees that there's the famine, so he temporarily goes, where does he go? Went to Egypt temporarily, right? Yeah, so when he's going into Egypt, now this whole story about what he has to tell his wife, all right? This part, I'm just gonna read my notes here. He enters Egypt, but you guys, fear kicks in. That's what happens. He gets afraid. He's like, yo, my wife is beautiful, and I know that when we go in there, these men are gonna think she's so gorgeous, and they're gonna want her, and then they're gonna kill me because they can, and I'm like new, coming into their new territory, so they'll just get rid of me and take her. So let me tell her to spare my life by have her tell everybody I'm her brother, and she's my sister, right? It's like that fear of not knowing, the unknown. He didn't know exactly what they were going to do. He wasn't sure, but he thought this is a good idea so that I will, keep my life. And I thought, imagine what that fear though also did to her. Her own husband is like, hey, they're going to want you, so just pretend to be my sister. And when he wants you, go be with him. Right? And it's like, what? Like for her, like I felt for her. I'm just feeling like how hard that would have been for her too. Like, because clearly, she has this connection with her husband, and then now she's just has to be put with with the Pharaoh, right? And then it says here, but then the Pharaoh somehow knows, right? So then because she's with him, God's probably going, you know what? That was a lie. You lied. You lied, Abram, and you did it to try to, protect yourself from dying. However, now I'm going to give these plagues to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's like, what is happening ever since I got with this girl, right? Then Pharaoh somehow discovers the truth, right? He somehow knows. It doesn't say how he knows, but he knows that she is not Abram's sister. So he goes to Abram, right? He says, why did you tell me she was your sister and not your wife? Like, why would you do this? Right? And then Abram's honest and tells him, yeah, I thought, you basically kill me. And so then he's like, well, you're gone. Take all your stuff and leave. Get out of here. She's not, like, why would you do that? She's your wife. And I had the same thought. Why would you do that? She's your wife. And then it had me thinking, all because of the fear of death or the unknown, or what others may do or not do. We don't know, but like, it just goes to show that even for Abram, even with the Lord showing him things and telling him things, he still obviously is human and had his fear kick in, and it got the best of him, and he made this decision to do that. And because of that, there's plagues and dishonesty, and she's probably traumatized, and it just had me thinking about, like, how often in our lives are we afraid to be honest with somebody about something because of the fear of the unknown. How are they going to react? What are they going to say? Did they take it the right way? Did they feel my true intention? So we might tweak or say it in a different way, or not just like be bluntly honest with what we're truly experiencing because of fear of the unknown, or fear of other people's reactions, or the fear of losing our own life and all that. So anyway, that's kind of what I took away from that, because I am still so curious though, how did Pharaoh know? Well, I'm sure it'll probably unfold later, because I'm discovering as I'm reading this that, like, I feel like there's like drips or hints of things, and then later they'll be answered. Because I do know for sure, for example, go back, chapter 11, a couple more notes here that I wanted to touch on, because this perfect segue. So yeah, how God kind of like gives a piece and then later like answers stuff, because I have read part of the New Testament already, not all of it obviously, but this part when in the future in Acts 2, the day of Pentecost, right? When we're talking about the language part, we're going back to the language part, guys. Okay, so it's like, imagine if he didn't have all the different languages that we all speak, then how would Pentecost even work for the people to know that the Holy Spirit came and everybody was speaking in different tongues? We wouldn't have that kind of proof to be like, oh, wowed by the power of God, right? If God never even gave us the different languages to begin with, to be able to see that someone else can speak their language and they know that that person didn't know their language. That kind of like proof of that the Lord, what came down, you know, that the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost, like just, it had me thinking about that, because it's like, what? Like just how much we're just so, everything is just so interconnected with everything, you know? And I also wrote on here, I feel like this is kind of when the idea of maybe co-creation started to come in place, right? Where, what is it? That maybe people think that consciousness the universe dictates consciousness, when really the consciousness dictates the universe. This idea of that God is expanding the same way we are, because we're in his image, right? He's made that very clear. So the idea of like, oh, I made this creation, and then here they're gonna go make their creation, this tower. Oh, that gives me an idea. Like, he probably didn't quite know what we were gonna do, right? Maybe he did, because if he is all-knowing, he could have known the past, the beginning, and the end. But we still have to act in that creation. You know, we still have to like take actions to build our creation. So when he sees that we went this route, he's like, oh, they went this route. Okay, let's do this now. What if we went another route? He probably had another idea or another plan in place, since he's all-knowing, right? But I just feel like it's a co-creation that we do with the Lord. He wants us with him, you know? It's not this like, I feel like there's many paths of what we could do in our life, what we can create in our life to be connected with the Lord. That had me thinking about a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, that's all I got for Genesis chapters 11 and 12. Let me know what you think. Comment below. Subscribe if you're not already. I will be posting what I think, my honest opinions, my honest thoughts about what I'm taking away from the Bible as a new believer from 2022. So this is my first time reading it from beginning to end. Again, I have read some of the New Testament stuff, and when we get to that section, I'll explain more of why I dove into certain chapters at the time. But yeah, this has been really fun and really exciting, and I hope you're benefiting from it. So please comment below or give me a like if you are, or share this with a friend, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great night. Bye.